Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Me, Only Run Very Noob, bringing you Guardian gameplay using the Talishar client. Today I'm playing Victor again. I figured I'd start out a little different though, because the deck is going through so many changes currently. I make changes like 4 times, 5 times a day. I figured instead of just hopping right into the Talishar game, that I would show you the list I used for this game and sort of where I currently am. As I mentioned in the video yesterday, I said the next thing I kind of wanted to try was Money Where Your Mouth Is with Enlightened Strike. Uh, just the play pattern of giving like Enlightened Strike go again with Money Where Your Mouth Is wagered. It's kind of like 8 go again, on hit draw a card, make a gold. Seemed kind of cute. Um, So you'll see those two in here, Enlightened Strike and Money Where Your Mouth Is. Another card I included is Red Disable. So my thought process behind this was maybe we can be a little bit more mid-range, aggressive over Fatiguey if we're running stuff like Money Where Your Mouth Is and Pummel. And Money Where Your Mouth Is sort of fits in nice with things that cost 2 or 5. With Command and Conquer, you just need 1 blue to play money into Command and Conquer. And with like a 4-card hand with 2 blues, you can fit in Money Where Your Mouth Is in front of Spinal Crush or Red Disable. So I thought that was kind of cute, so I decided to try Red Disable. I've also been liking Red Thunderquake, so just more big red attacks appealed to me. The blue base, I believe, is exactly the same. We have 21 of the poppers, 3 Boulder Drop, 3 Cartilage Crush, 3 Rouse, 3 Terra Sunder, 3 Unmovable. So where I found room for Money Where Your Mouth Is, E-Strike, and Disable was I cut Fate Foreseen. For our 4 blocks, I'm only running Test of Strength and Sink Below. Same equipment, although I did throw in the Gold Shield here, of course. I don't think it works on Talishar. Like, I don't think on Talishar it counts as a gold yet, but it still just counts as Steel Braid Buckler, so we can throw it in there and play with it and just kind of have some different art there. I'm trying to remember what else I cut to make room for Enlightened Strike and Disable. I'm sure I could pull up my last video and sort of work through it. Probably should have done that before I started recording this so I could have more information for you, but I just hopped in and started recording. Probably like Sigil of Solace and Fate Foreseen. Yeah, I'm forgetting what other card I might have cut, but this is where the list is right now. This list especially has been a lot of fun to play. I've been having a lot of fun with Victor in general. Like, playing Test of Strength, making a gold and drawing a card has just felt really good every time it's happened. Even sometimes when it's like, I just draw an extra blue, it lets me like save my tunic counter, or it lets me pummel something. It's just felt great. I haven't really played against a lot of go wide decks, so I haven't been able to like Test of Strength, draw a card, and then just like block more against something like 5, but I imagine that feels fantastic as well. So why don't we just get right into the game, and I'll show you how this list has been faring. So in this game we're playing against Kayo, Armed and Dangerous. My plan into Kayo with the last build was to just kind of like block a bunch and sort of fatigue them because they're discarding cards and they're like drawing and discarding. They can have really big turns, but really I was just trying to challenge them into dealing 40 to us. But with this new build, I think I just kind of want to trade and play like a more mid-range game. That doesn't change the equipment though. I think I do still want to go one hand and shield, as Anothos really is kind of hard to make 6 off 2 cards with Tunic, and just having more like block value to trade and play our bigger attacks has felt pretty good. So we're going Shield and Titan's Fist. Not running Miller's Grindstone because clashing against KO is sort of, well, dangerous. Their whole deck is like sixes, so I don't even run Test of Strength into them, I don't think. So we'll see what my plan is here. It looks like I'm going to cut Pummel and Zealous Belting, but I know I put Pummel back, I think, because I sort of want to just be trading. But maybe not. Maybe I do just cut Pummel, Zealous Belting, and Test of Strength. Test of Strength, again, in my games against Kayo, I've been like losing my clashes way more often than I'm winning them or even tying them. So I've been cutting them. Pummel and Zealous Belting, when you're trying to block out against KO, are kind of bad because you're not going to be put in a position to use them, and they're 2 blocks. But if I'm trying to play a more mid-range game, I think I probably would want Pummel. But it looks like I keep him on the sideboard for now. I have an opening hand that's not like great. They have 68 cards as well, so fatiguing them might be a little difficult. Normally though, I would like to just attack and get some cards out of their deck to try to like start fatiguing them early and like running them out of stuff. It lets them filter, which could be problematic. But I do think I'll probably just throw Cranial Crush here, because KO also does have a significant amount of 0 blocks, so we might even leak like 2 damage here, leaving our red for Arsenal. I'm not sure where the KO lists will end up, but I think they'll end up with like Pulpings and Wild Rides and Bearfangs all in red at the very least, and they might even include yellow copies. That's why I think if they have 0 blocks, attacking them's like not the worst, especially if it's for more than 6. And as we see here, they're actually incentivized. Of course, on turn 0, they're incentivized to block, but they end up blocking with like 2 of their power cards. Them blocking with a Blood Rush Bellow and a Berserk, I feel, is like very good for me. And they even end up taking the 2 damage that we thought we might leak. So that all in all, attacking them, if we're being results oriented, which we probably shouldn't be normally, but if we're being results oriented, this was a very good decision from us. They discard a Mighty Windup, making themselves a Might token. Something to watch out for. So we have a Money Where Your Mouth Is, 2 blues, and a Spinal Crush. So that's definitely what I'm looking to do this turn. Having the Thunderquake to put in Arsenal after all that would be good too, but also just blocking 3 with Thunderquake might just be something we end up doing here. They play another Blood Rush Bellow, but they do pitch a red. So hopefully this isn't like the craziest Blood Rush Bellow turn. And if they pitched a red, we have to assume that they didn't have like another resource card in their hand. So hopefully they just like didn't draw enough resources, or they just throw like 1 attack at us. I feel like we probably should just take all the damage here to Arsenal the Thunderquake. Almost regardless of how much damage it is, because if we're looking to have a tempo game, having like an attack in Arsenal, a big red attack in Arsenal is always good. It's probably worth more than the 3 life we would get by blocking. Ooh, so they only have 1 attack, but they have a big one here. They have a Savage Beatdown, which is coming in for 15. And that's just a ton of damage. I think not blocking, like, we're either blocking a bunch or we're not blocking at all. And I definitely want a Money Where Your Mouth Is, the Spinal Crush, just kind of like, just seems a little bit more fun. Maybe it's not as disciplined of a play, but it definitely will steal the next turn. And I think just taking 15 here is better than taking 12 by throwing the Thunderquake in front. But I do think I just block with the Thunderquake here, which I believe would be a mistake, because if we take all the tempo with like a Spinal Crush for 12. Oh no, blocking here is sort of good because we're going to attack with Spinal Crush for 12 and we're going to wager for sure. And if we make gold, we're going to draw a card. And if the card we draw can go in Arsenal, this is actually just like more value. We wouldn't be IPing ourselves by like keeping a card for Arsenal and then drawing another card we want in Arsenal. So this is actually, on second thought, once I think through that we're probably going to hit with this Spinal for 12, we're going to just draw a card for Arsenal. And Money Where Your Mouth Is has actually been sort of impressing me. It just turns everything into Snatch. And even better than that, it gives us gold that we otherwise wouldn't be able to generate in matchups that were siding out Test of Strength like Kayo. Not entirely sure if that's where Victor will want to end up, but it certainly seems like a card he could play in certain builds. Turning the Spinal Crush into a Snatch is actually just like really cool. They had defense reaction. They end up just being able to full block 12, so we give them a gold. I don't think them having a gold is like insane for them. Certainly not as good for them as it is for us, but it's probably like fine. It's like gold is gold, right? Like they're probably gonna find a way to get value out of that. They even discarded a Beast Within to their Reckless Swing, so they got to draw a card for Arsenal, which was a red Wild Ride. And we draw a hand that can just throw a red Disable and then Arsenal Command and Conquer. Throwing the bigger attack when you have all the free tempo is just better. More damage, and it's almost sort of the same effect as Command and Conquer. And here we see why we kind of want Pummel in the list, is if we're planning to like do this tempo thing, having Command and Conquer in Arsenal, Tunic at 3, and having Pummels in our deck could be very good. And even if we had Pummel right now, we could like Tunic and Pummel our Disable. Maybe going into the match, I was more sold on my old style of just like fatiguing them. I think today I would bring Pummel in against matchups where I was planning to go like more mid-range. They just give us Flesh Bag, and I think that might be because they were afraid of Tunic Pummel. Otherwise, it doesn't make a lot of sense because it didn't like save the crush effect. They still got disabled. Their arsenal got put on the bottom. They took a bunch of damage, although we're still quite a bit behind. But they must have been really afraid of Pummel here. And we just get to Arsenal our Command and Conquer and move on. We draw another Money, which is good with the Command and Conquer. It's also pretty good with the Tunic counter. I don't think we're really in a position where we can take a ton of damage, though. And they play another Blood Rush Bellow. This is our last one. They played one. They played two, and they blocked with one on turn 0. So definitely going to be blocking this turn. Hopefully keeping Money a blue and being able to CNC for 9. They attack for 5 go again. And I think, I remember thinking about using Civic Steps here. I feel like using Civic Steps here would be fine. Because it would literally have to be Savage Feast for Civic Steps to get punished here, I believe. They don't have anything that costs 0, so I don't think they could play like a 2-drop into a 0-drop. They don't play anything that costs 1 that wouldn't require a discard besides Savage Feast, which is the card that we'd get punished by here. They do have Tunic counter up though, so if they have like Swing Big, we could get like Ultra Destroyed. So maybe just saving the Civic Steps until it's not as risky, like maybe when Tunic is down, or maybe when they only have 2 cards behind, would just be better. In a lot of matchups with Civic Steps, you're just sort of looking for an opportunity to turn them into Temper 2. Like, you're not really trying to stop on hits with them in a lot of matchups. And Brute is one of those matchups where you're really not trying to stop any on hits, you're just trying to make it so that they don't get value out of the Quicken. They play another Savage Beatdown here, and this is like a ton of damage. But I want a money where your mouth is the CNC, and I don't think blocking 8 and passing the turn is better than just blocking 3 and like still threatening their turn. So I think we're just going to take 11 down to 13 here and try to claw our way back into this game. They're sort of out of armor, and we have like all our armor, so that's something we could also try to fall back on. We're certainly behind in this game, though. Double Blood Rush Bellows, pretty tough to beat so early, or at least it's tough to like be ahead after they've already played 2 of those in the first 4 turns. It also kind of sucks that our CNC, like Destroy Arsenal, doesn't get any value here. But maybe we can still incentivize him into blocking it by wagering and giving him another gold. Maybe he doesn't want us to draw a card for Arsenal. Plus it's just 9 damage, so even if he takes it, we're only down like 8 life. And there's a small chance we could draw like one of our 3 Sink Belows as well, which would give us like a lot of defensive value. It'd be a very good draw. Because we can't keep making these trades that aren't in our favor and win this game. So we probably don't even want to draw, like, if this hits, we probably don't even want to draw like a threat. We probably just really want to draw a Sink Below. Or maybe even blue immovable. Definitely not a game I'm expecting to win at this point, though, which kind of sucks. Do have a ton of armor, though, so that's like the one shining light. We draw a card, and it's not the perfect card, but it's not like a bad blue. It's like a Spinal Crush we get to put in Arsenal. So it definitely feels pretty good to draw like at least a card here instead of something like if we drew the blue Chokeslam, we probably wouldn't even put it in Arsenal. Maybe we would just to get additional block value out of our crown, but it wouldn't be like great. There's Zealous Belting. This is a perfect time to use the Civic Steps. They only had two cards behind, so even with Tunic Counter, they can't do too much besides Savage Feast. And we saw them pitch a Savage Feast, so I don't know if that should be giving you information like they might have another one, or they don't. Because if they pitch one, they probably should be expecting us to use Civic Steps, so maybe they would have wanted to keep the Savage Feast in hand and pitch the Pulping, just in case we block with Civic Steps. They can Tunic to play Savage Feast, discarding the CNC and like kind of going off that way. But that's not what happened. They just throw a Command and Conquer follow-up, and yeah, we're just going to block for 6. Now, here's a turn I'm trying to use gold. Because our Tunic is up, if we draw a blue, we can throw this Spinal Crush off the one floating, the Tunic, and the blue we would draw. So that's what I'm trying to go after. I think it's a risky play. I think if like the life totals were switched, we would just hammer for 4. But because we're so far behind, I think we kind of want to hit this. Unfortunately, we do not hit the blue. So we sort of have a decision to make here. Do we want to keep the Sink Below for like additional block value? It's only getting us +1 value over like a 3 block we would presumably draw. So I think I'm just going to use Tunic and Sink Below to swing Titan Fist. It sucks, we didn't get there, but you do what you can with what you got. And I sort of stand behind that gold line because we do need to get back into this game. And if we hit a blue there, that's like one of the, like a perfect way to get back into this game. They block with a card, which I really like because that means they're not going to have like a crazy pop-off turn. And maybe we can get away with just blocking with this Sink Below and throwing a Spinal Crush, and then having another Spinal Crush that we can put in Arsenal. Not so fortunate though. They play Command and Conquer, which turns our Sink Below off, which is kind of annoying. It even turns our blue Unmovable off. Not that we would be, spending our whole hand to block this Command and Conquer. So what do we do about this Command and Conquer? I think this is a Crown turn. And I think I even want to block with like this Rouse the Ancients. Just for 2 life. Hoping to draw blue so we can throw a Spinal Crush and Arsenal Sink, but even if we draw red, we can just pitch our whole hand to throw a Spinal Crush. What are some other options? We could block with like all of our armor, our shield, our gloves, and our hat, and like not Sink Below, like not crown away our arsenal. But then we IP ourselves because then we just kind of got to hold this Sink Below. So I think, yeah, just block with Crown and block with Rouse. Because if I, like, not blocking with Rouse seems bad. It's only worth 2 life. But what are we doing if we just block with Crown? We draw another card. Maybe it's a blue that turns on Rouse, like a blue attack. And then we can Rouse, pitching Unmovable, and then just like Hammer, which I don't think is as good as just throwing Spinal Crush. Because they definitely have the life to be able to pay life to have a big turn. But if we Spinal Crush them, they just can't have a big turn because they have to block it. So yeah, it seems kind of tough here, but I think we do just block with the Rouse. We don't draw blue, but we draw yellow, which still allows us to have Sink Below for Arsenal, which is pretty nice. I definitely didn't want to draw a red. That would have lost us like a whole 4 block from Arsenal with Sink Below. And sometimes Sink Below and Arsenal can even represent more than like 4 block. Like if they keep a whole hand, not that they can in Spinal Crush, but in the future, if they keep a whole hand and start with pulping, we can just blank their whole turn by having an Arsenal card to block with. They only have to block with 1 card here because they have no fear plus 1 block from armor, and that's about as bad as it could be for us. We were really hoping that they would be on a 2-card hand plus Arsenal, not a 3-card hand plus Arsenal here. They play a Wild Ride. We're just going to block 6. Not really delusional, not really having delusions that I'll be able to play that red disable. We might be able to play this Command and Conquer though, so I'm just going to block 6. We're at 10. We can't be taking a ton of damage. We've seen 1 Reckless Swing, not sure how many they're playing, but that's also something we kind of got to be mindful of. They break the gold. That's got to be good for us. Then they come in with Claw for 3. I think I'm going to take this 3 damage. Unfortunately, they had Claw into Swing Big. Could they have not? I feel like they could have just done that without breaking the gold. Maybe I'm missing something, but they pitched a yellow. It's not like they pitched a blue to net 1 resource. I think they could have done that and kept their gold around and not have been so risky. But I'm not 100% sure. It's kind of weird math. Either way, we're not keeping the Command and Conquer around anymore because they don't have an arsenal to disrupt. So it really comes down to what we want to do here. We could block 6, saving our Sink Below. Or we could block 7 to be able to Titan Fist them for 4. Or even Arsenal Command and Conquer. I sort of like just blocking 6. Well, but it looks like I want to keep the blue to hammer them. Not sure I totally love that play. Because it's really hard to imagine this 4 damage being relevant. I feel like our life total is the one that's constricting here. If they were like at 8 or something, sure, yeah, we wanna kill them, but they're not. They play this beat chest pump, and in this pump spell says your next brute attack gets +3 or +5 if you've beaten chest. And we just saw that they drew E-Strike off of their Beast Within trigger, so they can't even apply the buff to E-Strike because it's not a brute attack. So that's kind of interesting here. They're going to have to do something else. If they have a 2-drop in their hand, though, besides the E-Strike, they'll be able to just play that. But hopefully they were sort of looking for a brute attack, and they just have to like claw us for 8 here. Although I guess they could, yeah, they could just claw for 8 and then E-Strike for 7. I'm not sure why they didn't just do that. Claw for 8, E-Strike for 7 actually seems like it would be really good for them. But their other card's pulping. They're just coming in for 11 dominate. And we are going to not die to this because we have armor. We have a sink below. I think I'm supposed to just block with armor and sink below, staying at 3, and then like E-Strike go again into hammer for 4. Dropping to below 3 could be scary because we've already seen a reckless swing. But for some reason, maybe I'm not playing around reckless swing. I'm looking at their graveyard, probably checking for reckless swings. I see like a dig up dinner. And I go to 2. I don't think I'm supposed to go to 2 here. I can E-Strike for 7 and Arsenal sink below. That's not a bad line, but being at 2 is just too dangerous. You're just going to die to reckless swing at 2 life. So I'm not totally sure what I was thinking there. Even just like throwing Civic Steps or Tunic in front is probably better. Maybe I'm realizing my mistake here. Because yeah, I just go zoom in on reckless swing and I go, oh, whoops. So maybe that's what I was looking for in the graveyard before I decided my block was like, oh, does he play reckless swing? And I just like glanced at the graveyard and didn't see it maybe. I saw dig up dinner in the pitch zone and I'm like, oh, Kayo wouldn't be playing dig up dinner and reckless swing, right? But they are, and he is. So we'll see how this goes, but being at 2 against a deck that includes reckless swing is generally not a game you win. They roll 1 with scabs, pretty good, but then they break their gloves and roll 4 with their Savage Feast. And being at 2 life, yeah, we just have to block. We don't really have a lot of options. We just have to block all the damage. We could take 1 at some point, but we don't want to be super liberal with that. We only want to do that like if we absolutely have to. Gonna block 3. If they have another attack, we just die because of unmovable. Although I guess we do have the sink below an arsenal and 3 armor, so we don't die to an attack here unless it's for like 8. I guess even if it was for 8, we could block with Tunic. They go E-Strike, draw a card with us at 2. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I think E-Strike for 7 here is definitely what our opponent should be doing. And I'm just going to hammer, trying to get some damage in. Arsenaling the Unmovable might be, I think is definitely reasonable as well, to try to block maybe some dominate damage, turn a blue in hand into 6 block. But them at 8, they're like 2 hammer swings away. And I think I just kind of gotta do what I can to try to whittle down their life. Like, I'm dying to a Reckless Swing anyway, so we kind of just have to pretend that Reckless Swing isn't a card. They're going to come in for 6 with the Zealous Belting thanks to the Might token. And then, yeah, we just got to block 6. Not a lot we can do here. It'd be nice if we could block with, like, Civic Steps, but we just need to cover up the damage. Coming with CNC, of course, we just got to block. We just have to block all the damage we can until we're maybe left with a blue card that we can keep swinging in our hammer with. The game's not looking good. We have to hope maybe they brick on go again and are forced to roll scabs with no gambler's gloves. They play a Berserk, which if they have even a halfway decent Berserk turn, we're just very dead here. Our early game decisions to like throw big attacks and make big trades doesn't seem to be working out for us here. Luckily, it seems they were kind of low on resources here. And this has Dominate, but we're just going to block it with our equipment we have left. And hopefully this Quicken we give them doesn't actually do too much. They only have 2 cards and no Tunic, so, and no floating resources, so feeling pretty good about that. Maybe got a little lucky that they drew like red heavy stuff, although they did draw blue off of the Berserk. It was like a blue agile wind up or whatever that new card is called. Coming in for 3 go again, and I think we actually get to keep 2 cards here. They play a Dig Up Dinner. They hit Command and Conquer, and Savage Feast, so they get to gain 3 life. Definitely an interesting card choice. Haven't seen Dig Up Dinner in Kayo before, but I guess fatigue is kind of an issue for Kayo, so it makes a little bit of sense. And we get to E-Strike for 7, which is probably the biggest attack we're going to be able to muster the whole rest of the game. It's like, I don't know if I want him to take it all to go to 3 or not. If he takes it all to go to 3, it probably means his hand is good enough to kill us. So I'd probably rather him just block it, but at this point, I feel like I'm just dead for him drawing Reckless Swing at some point. So I'm just kind of going through the motions and playing the attacks that I can when I see them. And hoping by some miracle that it's good enough. They end up taking 7, which sort of like isn't the worst. But they go to roll scabs and they roll 1. So I think we get to just like steal this game here. because we have Tunic up and Terra Sunder and Money Where Your Mouth Is, and we get to use Tunic to play Money Where Your Mouth Is, and then Terra Sunder our Titan's Fist for like 8 dominate. And that can definitely steal the game if they don't have anything to prevent them from dying, if they don't have their reckless swing exactly this turn. And we actually end up getting there. Do not know how that happened. If he is only playing one reckless swing, maybe some of his lines make sense. But if he has another reckless swing in his deck, he should definitely not be taking damage to like keep a big hand. He took 7 damage from E-Strike just to keep a hand that relied on him rolling Scab Skins. Wouldn't recommend doing that. If your opponent's at 2 and you have a Reckless Swing in your deck, just Reckless Swing them eventually. But it was definitely a fun game. Winding up the winner at the end was unexpected. There was no point in that game that I thought I was winning past turn like 4. Literally until his life total was at -1. I thought I was losing the game. But so that's mainly why I wanted to show you this one. It was just kind of fun. It was just like a crazy finish. But also, Money Where Your Mouth Is really sort of impressed me. Just playing it on like a CNC or a Spinal or something just seems super good to me. Maybe leave down in the comments if this is a card you overlooked in Victor. Maybe tell me why you might not like it. Probably because it blocks 2. Or maybe because it is like a weird aggressive plan in a Guardian that looks like he's more defensive slanted. Having a lot of fun with this hero. And I'm going to keep bringing you videos of Victor, probably with different deck lists and different setups. Hopefully some different matchups, but in the open queue, it's definitely a lot of Kayo and Kasai these days, so it might just sort of be the matchups you're going to see. Hopefully I can get some different matchups, though, and show you how this hero interacts with some of the already more well-established heroes. So thanks for stopping by. If you made it this far, really appreciate you watching. I know there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of stuff to take your attention, and it just really means a lot to me that you spend your time watching my content and commenting and liking and, spending your energy. I know that time is fleeting, and the fact that I get any of your attention or time just means the world to me. So thanks again, and until next time.